You know that feeling when you're done with work and you could do literally whatever you want? I'm going to do a ton of gardening. Just do something. Super lucky because I get to take the next 2 weeks off from work and all I'm gonna do is garden. I'm sitting on my front porch right now, and so is everyone else. So we live really close to each other, so that's why I'm speaking a little quiet. It's supposed to rain all weekend, which is fine with me. After that, we're supposed to have cooler temperatures than we've had. I'm gonna take you with me while I get as much done in the garden as possible. I don't know exactly how much I can get done. The weeds are out of control and I need to get on top of them. Put down some pavers in some places. Going to do a whole bunch of bug proofing. Also, we'll be doing some pruning, some deadheading. One of my goals is just to clean the garden. Picking flowers and making arrangements. If possible, I will try and do something like that. And I'm gonna have like a cottagecore moment where, y'all, there's a hummingbird on my porch. Holy shit. Oh, I'm so bad. Okay, there is a hummingbird, at least one, that like thinks she lives here. Or he. I found out that hummingbirds are like super territorial. He or she was wondering what I was doing here because it's our house. I have to get my garden in order. It's time for us to get started. I decided to focus my attention in the hill strip where I am pulling the weeds that are growing among the liriope here. This is some kind of grassy weed that I just kind of left alone because I didn't really notice it. But now that I've got some time, I'm able to really get into the details of the front garden. So I even decided to pull out my trimmer and create a nice crisp edge. I'm doing this, I'm noticing that the leaves of the liriope are looking a bit tattered. So I'll probably come back through tomorrow and trim the whole thing back and give it a chance to grow back thicker during the fall season. It's only day 1 and I really don't want to burn out. So I've set a timer no longer than 1 hour out here. Otherwise, I could be out here all day. I couldn't help but notice the way the crepe myrtles have started to grow. I mean, look at these. These were just little tiny sprigs when I planted them, and I love this color combination. You can see how they're starting to grow into the walkway. For this space, I like the limbed up look, so I will focus on removing the lower limbs. It has a great shape, but I'm just going to clean it up a little. On day 2, I returned to the hill strip to trim back the liriope and to clean up the mess I had made the day before. As I get back into my gardening routine, I realize that I love the idea of zoning. So the hill strip is just one of the zones of my garden, and I've split my garden up into 10 or 11 zones to make the whole thing a lot more manageable. Thinking about getting to my gardening chores one zone at a time makes the whole thing a lot more manageable. This is still a very young tree, and I didn't want to get too close to it with the weed whacker. So I'm using my pruners to trim the loriope at the base, and also to cut back the suckers, the little stems that come up from the base, just to give it a tidier shape, and it already looks so much better. The garden is really maturing. It's requiring less work out of me, and I love that. So one zone done. I'm gonna call it a day for today.
You are my sunshine. You are my sun. Red light. You are my sun.
Anything else will have to wait for tomorrow, because now I'm going to dinner to celebrate my younger brother getting a job.
You are my sun. You are my sunshine. You are my sun. Red light.
Next, I'm focusing on the driveway garden, and to be honest with you, before I started thinking of my garden in zones, I never even considered this area as an area worthy of my attention, and it shows.
You are my sunshine.
I've let the weeds in the gravel driveway get away from me, so I'm cutting them back before I treat them with a weed killer spray that I used. It's a DIY. There are so many iterations of online, so I won't bother going through that really here. But if you get some vinegar, some salt, dishwashing detergent, and spray it on your weeds when it's really hot out, they will be decimated. I'm taking a little bit of a fine-tooth comb through this area. Although it is so hot, I won't get to nearly everything that I would like to. I'm taking stock and making plans for the future. And I'm no longer thinking of this area as an afterthought. It's where I keep my garbage cans, it's where I park my car sometimes, but I do actually interact with this part of my garden quite a bit. I pull into the driveway every day after work, and this is what I see. I want this Jane Magnolia tree to be a statement in this garden, but it is looking so weary right now. And if you have any ideas or any suggestions for me about how I can better take care of her, I welcome them. But I'm definitely gonna give her a good drink today. I'll put some compost and some mulch at her base and hope for the best. I've got a little bit more cleaning to do here, so I'm going to get back to it, and I'll bring you back around when I'm done. So it got a little too hot to continue yesterday, so I'm back out this morning cleaning up the mess that I made. I don't think I was out here for any more than an hour yesterday, and I got a lot done. I got a lot of weeds pulled, I chopped back the irises, I sprayed the weeds, and so today all I've got to do is clean up and then kind of do a little once over to make sure that this area is set for a little while. With the driveway bed cleaned out, it does feel like it is missing something. I've been thinking about what I could do apart from just planting annuals that will, spend the rest of the summer just trying to establish, that won't do anything interesting until fall and then won't come back next year. I'd like to fill in this gap with something a little bit more sturdy and long-lasting, something that is very low maintenance but beautiful. And so I had planted lilac here, and trust me, I get it. You really don't have any business trying to grow lilacs in southern states. In Georgia, it's just not gonna happen. Climates are changing, but not enough for that. So I've been thinking about putting a large panicle hydrangea here. Panicle hydrangeas can tolerate a ton of sun. They aren't necessarily drought tolerant, but they're a little bit more drought tolerant than macrophylla hydrangeas. And I think as long as I get myself on a routine of watering this area a couple times a month or, once a week. I think that a hydrangea would do okay here. I've got one on the opposite side of the driveway that I'd never water. But I think the reason it does so well is because I put so much effort into preparing the soil on the other side of the driveway, and I don't really think I put as much effort on this side. So I'm gonna continue to ponder on that for a while, but before I can call it a day out here, I do wanna take my hedge clippers to the shrubs just to make sure that I don't have to come back around here and trim anything anytime soon. Luckily though, they were shaped at the beginning of the season, so this is just, a little maintenance prune. And considering that I have moved to taking my garden one zone at a time, instead of what I used to do, which is try and tackle the front yard and then come back and tackle the backyard. Usually a week at a time. So I would say, okay, this week I'm doing the front yard, next week I'm doing the backyard. And I think I need focus in order to get anything done. Because although my yard in general is not huge, there's a lot going on out here. There are a lot of little things that need done and they take up a lot of time. And for me to come out here and say, okay, I'm gonna do the front yard, that means mowing, trimming, watering, weeding, and where to start. So handling just this part of the garden for today and tunnel visioning on that, I'm able to get to these tiny little details, like even cleaning behind the garbage cans. I had tinkered with the idea of building a structure to hide my garbage cans, but I don't think that's necessary just because the shrubs do such a good job of hiding them. But I feel like something is missing here too, so I'm going to extend the lamb's ear back a little bit more. You can see sort of the right side of the juniper where there aren't any lamb's ear. I'm also going to consider some scented plants just because this is where the garbage cans are. So some scented plants just to fill this space with a nicer aroma. And I think that just about does it for this area. The only thing left to do is to give the Jane Magnolia a little bit of TLC. I'm gonna start by spreading mushroom compost all around the drip line at the base and spread that in with my little shrub rake, which I love because it fits in tight spaces. And then I'm gonna do something I wish I had done more often this season. I'm gonna give her a long, good drink. Watering in the compost to make sure that that gets down in there. I'm just gonna sit the hose at the base and let it sit for a little slow drip, just for a few minutes, just to make sure the water gets really deep down in there. So she's good for the week. I don't know if you've been spotting them, but there are like 50 grasshoppers in this area. And they don't bother me, but they do make my heart jump every time they leap from place to place. Look at me. Look how satisfied I look. I think she's already looking better. I know that there's still some work to be done. I'm gonna remove these discolored leaves. I'm gonna continue watering for the next few weeks, and I'm going to give her a nice fungal treatment to handle the leaf spot and the powdery mildew I've been noticing, and I'm just in general gonna take better care of her, okay? What have you been neglecting in your garden? It's day 5 and the temperatures are falling. The mornings are cool, but the afternoons are still hot under the intense summer sun. I've come out a little bit early to get started in the heart of my garden. I call this the perennial border. It is a backdrop to the hedge border behind it. I'm starting where I usually do in this area, cutting back the small front patch of a lawn. I'm noticing, and there are a lot of dead spots. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know if it's because my lawnmower has been out of commission all summer long and I've just been hacking back at this with the weed trimmer, or if it's the population of grasshoppers that live in my garden eating at the roots. Either way, I think it looks much neater and tidier with a trim. I built this pathway from the sidewalk to my front porch a couple of years ago, and I left space in between the pavers to grow thyme and sedum, but liriope have colonized here. Now don't get me wrong, I usually love an ornamental grass, but this is not the liriope muscari that I use to fill in the space underneath my crepe myrtles in the health strip, with its beautiful purple flowers in the spring and summer. No, this is liriope spicata. Liriope spicata or nut sedge, a combination of the two, are impossible to eradicate. They keep coming back and they have these ugly, wiry yellow flowers. They spread far and wide and they aren't invited, so they have to go. The color in this border is definitely waning. It needs a little bit of life, but I'll prepare for future planting by trimming back the hedges that form the structure of this garden. Day 6, I woke up this morning and I struggled to get out of bed. But when I remembered that I had pruning and trimming and weeding and all of this to do, I got up, I got my coffee, and I got outside. And the minute I got outside, I felt energized. I turned on my favorite tunes and I went after this giant Colorado blue spruce. Now, this baby was planted small enough to fit inside of a shopping bag, one of those paper bags that you get from the grocery store. And I remember that because I brought it home in a paper bag from a grocery store. And now it's taller than my house. I enjoy this tree. I enjoy the texture and the color that it brings, but it is a beast. And myself and my little ladder don't add up to the height necessary to prune it. So I have been racking my brain trying to figure out how I'm going to tackle this problem in the future. I did a quick Google search and I found an extendable pole pruner. This one is recommended by the climbing arborist and is available at Home Depot. I'm excited to add this tool to my arsenal, but until I have this tool, I am going to focus on the more reasonable tasks, like cleaning up this area where gladiola came up in the spring. Since the gladiola has flowered and the flowers have faded, the grasshoppers have enjoyed nibbling at their leaves. And I don't even think the grasshoppers enjoy it very much because they've taken 5 or 6 bites, just left it. I'm also deadheading the black-eyed Susan and the coneflowers. It's not something you have to do, but because I know I'm going to have people visiting later this week, and because I do want to extend the life of this perennial and get more flowers, I'm going to go ahead and cut as many of the dead heads off as I can. And I noticed this coneflower, or maybe black-eyed Susan, I'm not sure, that is just in bud. So I'm excited to have more flowers to come. I also expect more flowers on these asters. These are wild asters that I transplanted from where they came up in a random spot somewhere else in the garden. And I had never let them grow to their full potential, so I had no idea how big they would get. And this is after chopping them back, you know, Chelsea chopping them in April or May. They managed to reach this height. And I considered chopping them back again, but I would like to see a full flower show. So I've decided to stake them back. I placed about 4 or 5 bamboo stakes all around them and used one of those flexible ties that you can get at the Dollar Tree. And I'm surprised at how much I like it now. I'm definitely keeping it here. I'm wrapping up the day by weeding in the front of the hedge where I've got a juga. But as I'm sitting here weeding, I'm looking up at this view and feeling so grateful. This is one of the things about gardening I love the most, just those moments where you can take it slow and be mindful and enjoy yourself. It's day 7 and I'm almost finished with the front yard. So far this week, we've pulled a whole lot of weeds. We've done a little bit of pruning and deadheading, and things are looking a bit shapelier around here, but we have not yet visited the side shade garden. It's a sheltered, narrow area with a tall hedge of Chinese snowball viburnum on the left and a variety of tropical and shade plants on the right. It would get so much moisture, it was hard to walk back and forth. But ever since I added the paver walkway, really started to lean on shade planting and moisture loving planting, this area has just started to right itself. It's pretty low maintenance, but I haven't maintained this area at all in a long while. I'm noticing grasshopper damage and, of course, more weeds. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed gardening in this area, or even just hanging out in this area, because this tall hedge gives me so much privacy. It's like a little secret corner of my garden. I am struggling a little bit to know what to focus on and to really focus my energy. So I'm just starting with the weed whacker and cleaning up the paver walkway a little bit. It's nice to have the time to go for those really crisp edges. Over the past couple of seasons, I've been working on developing more color back here, colorful foliage, just because it is such a tucked away space. I think that it's at risk of becoming kind of a gloomy area. I have a few successful heuchera, but not nearly as many as I planted, because so many of the heuchera and hosta that I planted here sort of failed just because of the insect populations, like the ant that just bit me. It's left a lot of space for leaf clutter and weeds, so I'll be working on adding more ground cover, colorful ground cover in the seasons to come. I decided to take a break from gardening to do a little shopping at a local nursery that is having a sale on annuals. And I found some intriguing ones like this one. This is the pop of color I'm talking about. Blazing Rose Blood Leaves, and this looks a lot like the clover that grows in my lawn. It's an interesting ground cover, but I'll leave that one be. I was most struck by this eucalyptus tree. Imagine having fresh eucalyptus. This is apparently a cold hardy variety, and it's bred for southern states. If I wanted, I could have a eucalyptus tree in my garden, but it's a bit of an investment, so I was happy to bring home a few half-priced annuals to fill in the holes in the front border. I decided I wanted to dot these small colorful pots around the garden just to kind of give it the illusion that there was more color in the garden. And I had these pots already from years past, so I'm filling them with some leftover potting soil and mushroom compost. And I'm kind of torn between single planting per pot and combination planting, but I think I'm gonna just go with a combination just because I really think what my garden is missing right now is that diversity of color. So I'm mixing in the compost and the potting soil, and I'm adding my first plant, which is, I actually don't remember the name of this annual, but I will certainly pop it on the screen when I do. And I ended up picking up those Blazing Rose. I just love the bright color, kind of reminds me of a coleus. And I found some asters that did really well for me last year. So all of the annuals I'm putting in these pots will probably end up dotted around the garden at some point. And finally, I'm adding this beautiful euphorbia, and I just think it gives the whole thing such an ethereal vibe. When it comes to planting a combination, I do try to stick to that old motto of a shower, a spiller, a filler, and I think that this combination does have all three. But ultimately, I ended up bringing home the plants that jumped out at me as I walked around the nursery. It had been a while since I'd done any plant shopping, and I think I was just really about the dopamine fix this time. So even if the planters don't look perfect, I'm just really happy to have some new color in the garden. I'm doing 2 pots because I already have a couple of potted plants that I was able to use to fill in the spots, and I just needed a couple more. So I've got a similar combination here with the euphorbia, the asters, the Blazing Rose, and a plant whose name I still do not remember. And so I'm just gonna tuck these in where they can fit in. As I'm planting here, I'm remembering what got me into gardening in the first place. Planting is my number one, hands down, favorite activity in the garden. There is something so satisfying about sticking your hands in the soil and plugging into the void that you create, and knowing that what you've done is going to then evolve and transform largely without your help. It's the miracle of creation right in front of your eyes. And I mean, yeah, I love a beautiful Instagram garden, but that's really not what it's about. I mean, it's about this raw energy that you get from connecting with the earth. And even here, I'm planting into a pot, but I've got my knees on the ground. I'm smelling the scent of the garden. My face is literally 2 inches away from a variety of pollinators, and it's so calming. It's so peaceful, and this is my favorite place to be. This is my happy place. In the heat of the summer, I don't often get a chance to do any planting, and that's okay because fall and spring can be so busy with, reestablishing garden beds and transplanting and dividing, so it's good to have time to just enjoy the garden. But yeah, I'm really glad that I took the time to put these planters together, and I think they look great. All right, now that we have done a little bit of work in each part of the front garden, it is set for a little bit longer. Join me next time. I'll be working in the backyard, which is a whole nother story. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video. My face does the weirdest things when I'm trying to focus.